Hello, Snugglebugs. Welcome to today's Hearthstone video. We're going to be going over the 26.2.2 patch notes that just got released recently by Blizzard that will be launching today or maybe already launched as of you're watching this video. So with the updates today, I would just want to call out the dev comment here that overall the meta seems to be in a pretty good spot, which I actually have to agree with them. There's a few decks that obviously feel a little powerful. There always is. There's no way to make it perfectly balanced. And then today they're planning on hitting a few power outliers in order to increase the experience for people. So then they're also including a few buffs to cards to sort of shake it up a little bit. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here, the stuff that's probably the most important, the buffs and the nerfs. So first off, we have here Sinful Brand. So old Sinful Brand, you hit the enemy minion whenever it takes damage, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. Now whenever it takes damage, you do 1 damage to the enemy hero. Personally, I never ran across this a crazy amount, but I do know if you had a big minion down, especially later game, not Outcast Demon Hunter, sorry, Spell Demon Hunter might hit it with 1, if not 2 Sinful Brands, and then play a bunch of 1/1s with Rush and end up hitting you in the face for a crazy amount of damage. Personally, like I said, I've never seen it too much. The reduction to make it do 1 damage is going to be massive in its damage output, and to me, almost maybe would have warranted it actually to be a 1-mana card. I could be wrong, and maybe they'll change it down the road if they deem it so. But anyway, that's just for me. The other change they've made to Demon Hunter is the Fell Scale Evoker. I should say one of the other changes they've made to Demon Hunter. There's at least one more, I think. So Fell Scale Evoker, they just reduced its attack by 3. They basically kept it having the same ability, but they're making it so really the only power that's going to come from this card is from its effect, not from the card itself. Again, I mean, it always makes it a little bit better, so that way if it brings out some demons from your deck, or when it brings out the other demon from your deck, that's the main threat, and by reducing its power level here, it just makes it so you don't have to deal as fast with the Evoker as maybe you might have had to before, because of course just the fact that it was a 5/7, it maybe brought out like an 8/8, made it so the 5/7 in of itself was enough of a threat. So I like that they scaled that back a little. Predation is the last Demon Hunter card to have been nerfed in this patch, and they are changing it from a 3-mana card to a 2-mana card. Of course, it's almost always a 0-mana card, and they reduced it from 3 damage to 2 damage. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't touch the Lady Sino directly in this, just because, like I said, really Predation is 95% or more played as a 0-mana card and not the... So the mana drop, I get what they're doing. They're trying to make it seem at least that worst case scenario, obviously 3 mana deal 2 damage would have been barely played, so they kind of made it so just in case you don't have a Naga, it might still be worth playing. It's a good change. I do agree that the combos where you would hit them in face a bunch and then you'd have 0 mana deal 3 damage would be a lot. So reducing this by 1 damage, as well as just the fact that now if it's discovered or you get it on your Nagalings with School Teacher, will make the total damage dealt by predations throughout a game get reduced quite a bit. Good change. They're also making some adjustments to the Unholy Death Knight. Once the other Death Knights got nerfed and they changed the way the Discover pool works, Unholy sort of took over the meta, I would say, in a big, big way. So the first change that they're making here is the Battlefield Necromancer. It used to be 2/3 with the same effect, and they're just reducing its health by 1. I'm thinking this is because there's a lot of easier ways to do the 2 damage to things, or if you have a minion you get through the 1/3 taunt, your 1-drop minion might have only had 2 attack, and then therefore couldn't deal with it, and then it just snowballed really quickly. I personally didn't know what they were going to do to this card. I thought maybe they'd weaken the taunt a little bit because it makes it harder to get through, but either way, I'm glad they're touching it a bit and not overkilling it, so that way the card or the deck hopefully should not die from these changes. In that being said, the other change they're making to Unholy Death Knight here is Blight Fang, and they're just increasing its mana by 1. This card could be really detrimental, especially like if you were a zoo deck, you had 2 or 3 minions on board already. By the time they played a 3-mana 3/4, that also made it so you wanted to, when they killed your minions, gave them the 2/2 with taunt, upping this just to slow it down by 1 turn. I still think it's going to be a super powerful card. It just, of course, might mean that your zoo deck has that ability to push through it before it actually can go off and give them what they require to come back from that. So this is really all they're nerfing for the Unholy Death Knight, and I kind of like it. With Blood Death Knight, it felt like everything sort of went, you'd barely see it anymore. It went from like the main deck being played to barely being seen. Same with Frost Death Knight. Still really good, just you don't see it. which is honestly the way that I think it shows its balance. It's got a good win rate, but it's not everywhere. So hopefully these two minor changes can do the same thing for Unholy Death Knight, where it's still good enough that we can play it and, have a good win rate and say make it to Legend with it if you enjoyed the deck, but not enough that you see it like 30% or 25% of the time. On the note of seeing decks super often and them trying to scale it, and Blizzard trying to scale it back a little bit, we have the high Cultist Basilif, which again, they're just increasing it by 1 mana. Now, I think this is still just going to be good, still going to be played. It honestly rarely, from my experience, was it's ever played directly on 4 anyway. So this really will just be making it so you probably don't play this on 6, maybe with, say, another card or heal or shadow blast at the same time. But this card is still really powerful. It's the only thing they're touching for undead priest, which again, I don't want them to kill it. So we'll see if this is enough to bring it out of that top spot and let something else shine for a while. And probably one of the biggest changes that they're making, the nerfs that they've made that a lot of people I think are looking forward to, a Nubricon. So they reduced its battle cry from 8 armor down to 5. So in order to really get value out of a Nubricon, you need to have a good chunk of armor going into the turn you play it, which isn't, unheard of. It's just what happens a lot now, currently, is a Nubricon would have been played. You get your 8 armor. Maybe you play an Underking or 2, which gives you, say, 12 more armor. Then you play your Fog Snout, and they have these massive taunt minions. Which, because this will no longer give you enough armor to play the Underking to give you the other armor, again, you would need to have something a little bit more build-up. It's still really powerful. It's still going to cause those turns to happen. It's just, if you're pressuring that druid down enough, they need to have built towards it, whether it's their hero power, giving them a bunch of armor, and things like that. So I think that's a nice change. It's not enough to, I don't think, kill the card, but enough to make it so it's not always going to work. And now we have the Rogue. The last nerf of this patch, we have the Scribbling Sonographer, and they just increase its mana by 1. A lot of combo rogue or miracle rogue decks have been, making its way back up, especially the top of the ladder. So personally, I haven't seen them a bunch, but I definitely see that as you go into high legend, they become a lot more potent. And in this card, of course, getting out, say, 1, if not 2, 4/4 rushes super early to clear the board has just been really powerful. So by increasing it by 1 mana, means they have to play 1 additional card in order to get those same benefits, which isn't impossible, but it's already hard enough sometimes to get those 6 cards in 1 turn. So again, I think it's a good change. Not enough to dramatically kill the deck, but enough to make it a little less consistent. Now moving on to the buffs of the patch, we have the one that I know I'm the most excited about. I'll probably be trying this deck out and making a video or 2 about it, because I've been wanting to play this card in a good deck for a while, and I don't know if this is enough, but at least it's something. We have the Symphony of Sins, legendary card for the Warlock class. They're reducing the mana by 1, and as they even call it out here in the dev comment, players love this card, but it's just not powerful enough. So by reducing it by 1, maybe you can get it out a little bit early. But yeah, getting this out a little earlier, putting the cards in your deck just makes it, I think, a little bit more palatable to play, as they put it, and I'm excited to give it a go. Other things that may help a class come back from being the bottom as well is they are re-putting From the Depths back to being a 3-mana card, but only reduces their stat or their cost by 2. Honestly, again, this is pretty good, and the reason I say that is, like, the mana reduction before was way too powerful at 3 for 3 mana. So I think by doing this, they're kind of trying to hit the both, where you get the upside from the depths early enough that it's actually going to make a difference. Because when it went to 4 mana, it was just too late in the game, too slow, right? This way, in a way, it's kind of similar in the sense where it reduced the cost by 1, but you have to spend 1 more additional cost on the first card that you dredge the next turn. But at the very least, you get to play it a little earlier, which means you might be able to take control of the board just a little bit faster. And on top of that, they're also buffing the Coarse Riff, which what they're doing here is just make it so the minion you draw gets +3/+3. Again, honestly, for 3 mana, drawing a card and a 3/3 buff without even the idea of the finale play your last riff is really a lot more. It's actually a reasonable card to play. I mean, it was, honestly, in my opinion, at 2/2. So it might be a bit strong, just the warrior class is really kind of weak right now. So this being a really powerful card might be enough to just put it over the top. And I was trying out some Black Rock and Riff style decks recently, and so just a little bit extra love. And who knows, maybe we'll throw in From the Depths just to try it out as well. Because once you double all your minion stats or increase their stats by their cost, if you play Lorthalos first and then you play From the Depths, you'll get a really cheap, powerful minion, perhaps. So could be something that we could throw in. And I'm excited to give this a go. For the Demolition Renovator, which is a card that I did not think they were going to touch, but I kind of like this idea to kind of put it in line with some other tech cards that they have in the game. You know, if you have 4 mana 4/4 isn't great. Destroy a random location or an enemy location is good. A lot of people use locations now, but the downside is you don't want to put this in your deck because it has 0 value if they don't happen to have a location. So by adding the battle or the tradable effect to this card, it just allows you to add it maybe more cleanly as a tech option. I think tradable should be added to a lot more cards, so I'm glad to see that they're moving in this direction for at least some of them. Then we have Rotten Applebaum. They're just making it a 4/6 instead of a 4/5. I haven't seen this card played, and I don't know if it's just... I don't even know if this card's in core. Not gonna lie to you. Because I haven't seen it played. But maybe we will, and yeah, let's see. We'll give it a go. That's all I guess I can really say on that one. And then the Pandarin Importer, they reverted it from being the 3 mana 2/4 back into being a 2 mana 1/3, and I feel like they did that. Yeah, as I say, they did it because there was an unintended thing last year in Standard, but now that has moved over into Wild, the concern no longer truly exists, so they just reverted it back. Makes me excited because I always used to love the Pandarin Importer, and then when they increased it, it didn't seem worth really playing anymore as a 3 mana 2/4, and maybe it'll actually just see play in a lot more decks now. And there's Battlegrounds updates as well that comes with this patch, but I haven't really covered that too much here on the channel, so I would say maybe go check out more Battlegrounds content creators. I think It's Ben usually covers that stuff pretty well. So thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.